35. Fallen Women. The Detroit Tribune, March 17, 1894. Lalun is a member of the most ancient profession in the world. Lilith was her very great grandmama, and that was before the days of Eve, as everyone knows. In the West, people say rude things about Lalun's profession and write lectures about it, and distribute the lectures to young persons in order that morality may be preserved. In the East, where the profession is hereditary, descending from mother to daughter, nobody writes lectures or takes any notice. Rudyard Kipling, the story of which the sentences that precede this one are a paragraph, was written in India. They were written by Rudyard Kipling, from whom most of us have learned all that we definitely know about India, with the exception of the fact that India raises wheat enough to be a great competitor of our own farmers, that men work there for 2 cents a day, and that women throw their babies into the Ganga, which is the sacred river of the country. But Vivekananda, since he came to this country, has exploded the story about the women of India feeding their babies to the alligators. And now he says that he never heard of Rudyard Kipling until he came to America, and that it is not proper in India to talk of such a profession as that of Lalun, out of which Mr. Kipling has made one of his most delightful and instructive tales. In India, said Kananda yesterday, we do not discuss such things. No one ever speaks of those unfortunate women. When a woman is discovered to be unchaste in India, she is hurled out from her caste. No one thereafter can touch or speak to her. If she went into the house, they would take up and clean the carpets and wash the walls she breathed against. No one can have anything to do with such a person. There are no women who are not virtuous in Indian society. It is not at all as it is in this country. Here there are bad women living side by side with virtuous women in your society. One cannot know who is bad and who is good in America. But in India, once a woman slips, she is an outcast forever. She and her children, sons and daughters. It is terrible, I admit, but it keeps society pure. How about the men? Was asked. Does the same rule hold in regard to them? Are they outcast when they are proven to be unchaste? Oh no, it is quite different with them. It would be so perhaps if they could be found out. But the men move about. They can go from place to place. It is not possible to discover them. The women are shut up in the house. They are certainly discovered if they do anything wrong. And when they are discovered, they are thrown out. Nothing can save them. Sometimes it is very hard when a father has to give up his daughter or a husband his wife. But if they do not give them up, they will be banished with them too. It is very different in this country. Women cannot go about there and make associations as they do here. It is very terrible, but it makes society pure. I think that unchastity is the one great sin of your country. It must be so. There is so much luxury here. A poor girl would sell herself for a new bonnet. It must be so where there is so much luxury. Mr. Kipling says this about Lalun and her profession. Lalun's real husband, for even ladies of Lalun's profession have husbands in the East, was a great big jujube tree. Her mama, who had married a fig, spent 10,000 rupees on Lalun's wedding, which was blessed by 47 clergymen of Mama's church, and distributed 5,000 rupees in charity to the poor, and that was a custom of the land. In India, when a woman is unfaithful to her husband, she loses her caste, but none of her civil or religious rights. She can still own property, and the temples are still open to her. Yes, said Kananda, a bad woman is not allowed to marry. She cannot marry anyone without there being an outcast like herself. So she marries a tree, or sometimes a sword. It is the custom. Sometimes these women grow very rich and become very charitable, but they can never regain their caste. In the interior towns, where they still adhere to the old customs, she cannot ride in a carriage, no matter how wealthy she may be. The best that she is allowed is a pair of bullocks. And then in India, she has to wear a dress of her own, so that she can be distinguished. You can see these people going by, but no one ever speaks to them. The greatest number of these women is in the cities. A good many of them are Jews too, but they all have different quarters of the cities, you know. They all live apart. It is a singular thing that, Bad as they are, wretched as some of these women are, they will not admit a Christian lover. They will not eat with them or touch them, the omnivorous barbarians, as they call them. They call them that because they eat everything. Do you know what that disease, the unspeakable disease, is called in India? It is called bad Faringan, which means the Christian disease. It was the Christian that brought it into India. Has there been any attempt in India to solve this question? Is it a public question the way it is in America? No, there has been very little done in India. There is a great field for women missionaries if they would convert prostitutes in India. They do nothing in India, very little. There is one sect, the Vaishnava, who try to reclaim these women. This is a religious sect. I think about 90% of all prostitutes belong to this sect. This sect does not believe in caste and they go everywhere without reference to caste. There are certain temples, as the temple of Jagannath, where there is no caste. Everybody who goes into that town takes off his caste while he is there because that is holy ground and everything is supposed to be pure there. When he goes outside, he resumes it again, for caste is a mere worldly thing. You know, some of the castes are so particular that they will not eat any food unless it is prepared by themselves. They will not touch anyone outside their caste. But in the city, they all live together. This is the only sect in India that makes proselytes. It makes everybody a member of its church. It goes into the Himalayas and converts the wild men. You perhaps did not know that there were wild men in India. Yes, there are. They dwell at the foot of the Himalayas. Is there any ceremony by which a woman is declared unchaste, a civil process? Kananda was asked. No, it is not a civil process. It is just custom. Sometimes there is a formal ceremony and sometimes there is not. They simply make pariahs out of them. When any woman is suspected, sometimes they get together and give her a sort of trial, and if it is decided that she is guilty, then a note is sent around to all the other members of the caste, and she is banished. Mind you, he exclaimed, I do not mean to say that this is a solution of the question. The custom is terribly rigid, but you have no solution of the question either. It is a terrible thing. It is a great wrong of the Western world.